Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's event. I definitely want to introduce our first presenter. We have Dr. Kim. She earned her BS in psychology from Townsend University in Baltimore. She has her MSW from Howard University in Washington, D.C., her MA in media studies and media management from the New School in the city, New York City, and PhD in social work from Fordham University in New York. And she has an extensive experience as a trainer and educator. Okay, she's also an expert on performance, leadership, and nonprofit management in organizations, and has shared her expertise at national and international conferences. So, Dr. Kim, I'm going to pass it over to you. We deeply appreciate you, and I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you all. I'm very excited to be here tonight, and I hope what I have to share with you is actually helpful. And so, what I'll do is I'll just work through like a couple of slides just to orient us to goal setting in 2024. And then I would like to leave some time before we segue into mind mapping to answer any questions or help kind of tie the thinking about goals to actually starting to set them. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. All right. So thank you, Aisha, for that beautiful intro. So let's jump right in. So starting to think about why we even set goals, right? So why, right? Definitely one reason is to accomplish a specific task um, or reach a certain outcome. But also, there are a lot of other reasons why we set goals. So, if you just want to put in the chat just briefly, what are some reasons why you set goals? Let me see. Sorry, y'all. I'm trying to navigate. Here we go. Here's the chat. De-stress, to hold yourself accountable, to accomplish something new. Absolutely. And especially when we think about accountability, um, de-stressing, keeping you on track towards achieving a dream, to set an intention. And we're going to talk about intention and goals in a moment. So thank you for that. Yes, all of these things support your mental health, right? Goals help us set structure, they help us set routine. Like you said, accomplish a dream. Just that sense of accomplishment can be so meaningful to our mental and our emotional health. And it also helps us to kind of keep track of our progress. It's so easy for us to forget what we've done or how far we've come. And setting goals and revisiting them help us to stay on track, but also remind ourselves of what we've accomplished, where we've been, and how far we've come. Right? Awesome. So there is a lot of talk about intentions versus goals, especially in the beginning of the year. A lot of people will say nowadays, I set an intention, I don't set a goal, or, sometimes they're used interchangeably, but they're different and they both serve a purpose and they're both very important and they can work together. So I actually love intention and I describe an intention as a particular mindset, focus, or way of being that can help prepare for action or be open to discovery, right? So, setting an intention can lead you to setting a goal, or it can allow you to say, I'm going to be open to what happens. I'm going to be open to how this shows up in my life. But by setting the intention, I'm aware, right? I'm being mindful of what this may look like. And that discovery piece is just as important as the action piece many times. So, a goal I always describe with my clients as a plan of action to achieve a specific result. So, again, focusing on the word action and result. So, when we think about setting a goal, the acronym SMART can help us stay on track with setting goals. A lot of times we'll say, well, I want to lose weight this year, or, I want to get my bachelor's degree, or I want to make new friends. And those are great, right? But how are you going to do it, right? What are the action steps? How are you going to be specific about achieving this goal? So the SMART acronym can be really helpful. So again, S starts with specific, breaking it down. M is measurable. So how are you keeping track of if you're completing this, if you're accomplishing this? Attainable and relevant. So you see a little asterisk next to both of those because I think those are very subjective, right? So is the goal attainable? Because we want to set ourselves up for success, but also sometimes we need to stretch, right? But also having a goal that isn't necessarily realistic in this time frame, whether it's our resources, time, support, prerequisites for the goal we may not have. And so setting yourself up for something that you can't succeed can also work in the opposite direction, isn't very helpful. So thinking about whether or not a goal is attainable and then also relevant. Is it relevant to you, your life, what you really want? Many times we set goals because this is what somebody else has told us we should be working towards or thinking about or accomplishing. And so, really stopping to think, is this goal relevant to me, my life, what I want to do? And then also making it time sensitive, right? Like the example of, I want to lose weight. That's great, but when? You know, do you want to lose weight this year? Do you want to lose weight 10 years from now? Right? The actions that you're going to take to accomplish that goal look different if you're aiming for that this year or 10 years from now. And so I just wanted to give a little diagram for my people like me who are visual, looking at how, you know, intentions can lead to goals, which lead to action steps, right? Helping us break them down. And I'll talk a little bit about breaking it down into smaller steps in a few minutes. And so here's one example, right? So maybe you have the intention that this year I will be open to new relationships. Wonderful. But how do we make that a goal? So maybe one goal is I will join one social club in my city by July 1st. It's measurable. There's a time limit. There's an action of what you're actually going to do, right? And you can look back in July 1st and say, did I actually do this, right? And so maybe those smaller steps are asking colleagues about social clubs in the city by March 1st, or attending at least one social club event in March or April. Again, it's measurable, it's specific, it's attainable, it's relevant to your intention, to your goal, and it's also time sensitive. Another goal might be I will meet one new acquaintance for brunch each month. Again, something that you can put in your planner, something that you can put in your calendar, very specific, very tangible. What's the step that you can take to do that? I'll text Lita today to ask about brunch in February. Mhm. So when you're thinking about setting your goals, again, thinking about some questions to ask yourself. Why this goal? And this goes back again to that relevancy question and also why we set goals. Why is this goal important to you? Spending some time with this question can help commit you to your goals because you understand the why behind this goal, right? Again, going back to the example of I want to lose weight. Why do you want to lose weight? Because there's serious health illnesses in my family. And I know that keeping my weight down is one way to help prevent me from getting those illnesses. That goes a lot deeper than just like, I want to lose 25 pounds, right? Because you're connected to this why. It's also a relevant goal for you. This is not somebody telling you, well, this is the weight you should be, right? So asking yourself why this goal for you is really important. Next, again, is it specific enough for me to plan for it? Is this something that I can actually look at my calendar, look at my schedule, sit down and actually put down so that I can remind myself of this goal? Can I measure it? Again, can I look back and check off like, yes, I did this? Did I send that text? Yes, I did. Did I go to that social event? Yes, I did. You know, did I have one brunch this month with a new acquaintance? Yes, I did. Is it attainable at this time? Again, thinking about what's possible right now. And is it a stretch? Is it possible, but it's a stretch? That's fine. But is this something that maybe isn't realistic right now, but could be down the line? So maybe this is a long-term goal, and then you set shorter term goals to help you achieve it, right? So for example, I will graduate from law school in May, but if you're not in law school, that you're kind of setting yourself up, right? So maybe the first step is um, I will finish my bachelor's degree, or I will apply to take the LSAT, right? So again, thinking about what's attainable. Does this goal align with my vision for my life and my future? And does it align with my values? So again, what is the relevancy of this goal for your life? And then finally, what's the time frame or date I'd like to accomplish this goal? And so I always like to say here too, just as a reminder, you know, we can always change our goals. We can always revise our goals. Life happens, things come up. Maybe we start something and we realize this is not actually what I want to do. I want to do something else. And so by being specific like this, by taking these factors into mind, it can also help you make shifts where necessary. You don't have to be married to a particular goal. So before I wrap up, I just want to leave you with 5 tips for setting and accomplishing your goals in 2024. Right? So the first tip is to keep it simple. And this is something I know firsthand because I am somebody, I'm very goal oriented, and I have had years where I set 12 and 13 goals, and it's a setup. Right? Yes. And I know many other uh, people who can relate to that. So keep it simple. You can, once you accomplish a goal, you can add another goal. You know, um, we'll talk in a minute about breaking your goals down into smaller steps. That gets crowded. So keep the goal simple, keep it concrete, keep it something that is achievable and attainable for you. And you can always check it off and move on to the next goal. And then moving into the second tip, breaking goals down into smaller steps. So, like I showed in that example, once you set the goal, what are some action steps that you can take to help you meet that goal? Sometimes we set huge goals, and while they're attainable, they also feel overwhelming, right? And it's like, it sounds great, it looks great, but oh my gosh, like I don't even know where to start. Break it down, start with a small step. So, again, we started with the goal of, you're going to go out to brunch with one new acquaintance a month, right? The smaller step is today I can text this particular person and I can invite them to brunch next month, right? Feels much more achievable than even the intention, right? Of, well, I'm going to be open to new friendships. Now I actually have a step that I can take today to help me work towards that intention and that goal. Number 3, write them down where you can revisit them daily. And I put a little asterisk here because I think, and I know there's research, but I really think there's something about physically writing that really helps your mind get set on what it is you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, right? And there's something powerful about writing and helping you to manifest it. If writing is not your thing, you can also use digital tools. You can use a digital journal. That's fine. And then there are also people who really like pictures and visuals and things like that. And so that's where vision boards come in and can be so wonderful, right? And you can do a vision journal. You can collect things that remind you of your goals. The most important thing though is putting them where you see it every day. There's a constant reminder that this is what I'm working towards. This is what my focus is going on. And to help you stay on track. When we set goals and then we hide them somewhere in a desk drawer or a nightstand, you know, life happens. The daily grind happens. It's easy to forget what our focus is. So, again, keeping it somewhere where you can see it daily. Number 4 is getting accountability and support. And I don't think many people think about this when we think about setting goals. It is very hard to do something in isolation. When you have people who you are accountable to, when you have people who are supporting you, it helps you go so much further. Whether that support is pointing you to resources to help you accomplish that goal, whether that support is saying, hey, you said you were working on this. How far have you gotten? Is there anything I can do to help you? Is so important to helping us keep that moving. Um, it also, speaking it out loud, keeps you accountable, you know, letting other people know, not being secretive about it, it can help lovingly call you out or call you in. And also, along these lines, therapists, coaching, you know, can help you with setting goals and accomplishing goals as well. And then finally, is celebrating. And I know so many of us who don't do this. We accomplish a goal, we check it off, we move on to the next one. We don't even take time to stop and say, ooh, you did that, you know, like I really accomplished that. And your celebration can look so many different ways. It can be a party, it can be a dinner with your friends, it can be buying yourself flowers, it can be giving yourself the night off, right? It doesn't have to be elaborate, but some type of acknowledgement to yourself that I did this, I accomplished this. Um, Instead of just moving on and not acknowledging it, just the same way we put effort and value into acknowledging the people we love, we also need to acknowledge ourselves. So that is the extent of what I have for tonight as we segue into mind mapping. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts or comments they want to share?
Anyone could put anything in the chat, or you could simply raise your hand.
Yeah. If anybody does, Naisha, can you call on them? Because for some reason the chat is not showing up for me.
Yeah, for sure, I can. I'll
Okay.
start off with a question. Oh, here we go. Mayon asks, in your flow chart, would you put values before intentions?
Mm. So it depends on what I was doing, right? And so I think values could be an exercise in and of itself before you set intentions. Or if you set an intention, you can think about what your values are, or how it connects to your values. So values can, I think, definitely have a place in your goal setting process if that's important to you, you know, um, and can be a good exercise anyway, as well as priorities. Values and priorities can sometimes help you determine what your intentions or your goals are. Mhm. So there's definitely a relationship. Thank you for that question.
Anyone else? Well, I'll go with my question.
Okay.
What if you're trying to push yourself and you just can't reach that goal? You said, okay, I'm going to set my goals. I'm writing them down. I applied to get this bachelor's. I got accepted. I'm in class, but you have not reached the goals that, failures, not failure, sorry. You think you're failing. Things come up. What
Hmm.
next?
Oh, so okay, great question. So one is looking at the goal and seeing, does it need to be revised? Right? Is life happening? Is there something getting in the way? Is there a particular type of support that you need now that maybe can help you accomplish this goal later? And if so, what is that? Maybe the goal now becomes attaining that support. So then you can reach that goal, right? So sitting down and looking at the goal and asking yourself, what is getting in the way? Why is this goal still relevant? Is it still relevant? Is it still important to me? And then also, I think this is where therapy or coaching can also be helpful. Are there other obstacles that are getting in the way? Are there confidence issues? Are there self-esteem issues? Are there mindset blocks, right? That maybe you need some support around overcoming. And so getting that type of support can also help. Mhm,
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
mhm.
And we have a couple more minutes with Dr. Kim. Anyone want to share anything, ask anything?
Anything that helps you set your goals and accomplish them.
I can share really quick. When actually speaking out loud, I've learned that through therapy, speaking out loud to my therapist, as well as the community, being, just a shameless plug, being with Therapy for Black Girls Sister Circle, speaking out to people who are actually supportive. Definitely can't be around negative people. Definitely.
Mhm.
That is like, if someone is putting that negativity in there, I know my mouth is shut, and I know what to say to them, how to interact with them, because they
Yes.
could be negative toward my goal, but not be a negative person in general, it's because they may not understand my own intentions. So the biggest thing for me is speaking to my therapist and speaking with a positive community.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, everybody doesn't understand your vision. And so being with people who can support your vision and who see your vision or are open to seeing it, even if they don't it doesn't necessarily connect for them right away, is is really important. And learning to set boundaries with those people that for whatever reason aren't supportive or don't get it. Mhm.
There we go. All right. And does anyone else have any questions? You can type it. You can come off mute. All right. I think that is it. Dr. Kim, thank you so much. We deeply
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Looks like we're going to move on over to Karen. And Dr. Kim, may you please put your email in the chat if anyone would like to contact you. Is that okay? Okay, awesome. All right. So she's going to put her email in the chat. You can contact her. And I know she'll be in communication. All right, let's keep it going. I'm excited for this. All right, Karen, I am bringing you up, and I'd love to bring up your bio. All right, awesome. Karen is an award-winning lettering artist, creative director, and founder of Character, based in Chicago. With her bachelor's degree in communications and a minor in business from the University of Missouri, Karen has a unique perspective on design that works hand in hand with business. Early in her career, Karen had the privilege of working for Google and Leo Burnett and served as a program advisor for the Obama Foundation. Karen, I always like to put that shameless plug in that your work is amazing. And she also is the creative director for the TBG team, as well as the Hello Dr. Joy brand. Karen, is your floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Naisha. Welcome, ladies. I'm so excited to have you a part of the new holding space community. So I'll go ahead and share my screen and get started. So welcome again. As Naisha said, I am the creative director for Therapy for Black Girls, but on the side, I'm very much a creative, y'all. Like when it comes to running my business and like managing clients and a ton of projects, I'm overwhelmed with ideas. I'm overwhelmed with task lists, to-do lists, and as we're all here, goals. We all have big dreams, and I've had to figure out how to channel those big dreams into something that sparked my creativity or merged my creativity. So I want to introduce this concept of mind mapping. I didn't invent mind mapping, but I popularized it in my own little niche community, and have done a lot of webinars like this. And so I define mind mapping as a powerful visualization tool to help you convert very like abstract thought, right? Like, so all those things that go through your head into written or drawn visuals to help you organize your ideas and draw the connections between them. So I'll also echo a lot of things that you said, Dr. Kim, about goal setting in your presentation, because like you said, it all intertwines so beautifully. And so my mapping for me and how I leverage it is again, just helping me sort through those big, scary problems. A lot of times, as creatives and as business owners, we're met with a lot of decision making, and sometimes decision making can lead you to decision fatigue. And y'all know when it comes to standing idle and being stagnant, it gets you in a place that isn't creative, that isn't conducive to your productivity. And when it comes time to, set those resolutions or those goals, it can be very like daunting to even do so, because you're like, I can't even get what I've been thinking about off the ground. Now y'all want me to set new goals. And so mind mapping has been a really fun and creative way for me to, still exercise my creativity, but also like tackle the things that scare me a little bit. And so that's a little bit about mind mapping, and I hope that you all have a pen and paper handy, because we will be doing some drawing today. And I want you to think about, as we go through this, a little bit what's big for you right now in terms of like your goals. So that could look like a lot of different things. It could deal with your education, maybe a job or career switch, maybe making more money, starting something new, ending a habit, starting a new habit, whatever that may be for you. Think about what's coming up for you right now, and keep note of it as we go through this. All right, so let's go into the benefits. So the benefits of mind mapping, I like to think of this story that happened. I always got a nod to the pandemic because that was such a cultural shift for all of us. During the pandemic, when we were stuck in the house and thinking about what do we do with our time, I was left with, wow, like I have too much time on my hands, but I also like know that the pandemic isn't going to be a forever thing. And so I really used that time to think about, what will life look like after the pandemic? And so that's where mind mapping was born for me. And so I invited a lot of people to like do these one-on-one mind mapping sessions. And what I realized, it really gets you from a place of like idling. So if you could imagine you sitting in a car that's turned on, but it's in park, you're not going anywhere. The car is running. You're wasting all this energy, but you're in one place, right? Maybe you don't know how to turn the GPS on and put in the address, right? So you're idling. You're just sitting there. But you want to get to a place where you're ideating, right? Ideating meaning you have all these ideas. You want to get to a place where you're like idea overload, or at least can find a place to start. So I like to think of the first benefit, and which is the most massive benefit, is going from idling to ideating. The second is it encourages creative exploration. I like to quote Jay-Z with this one. He said, there's a million ways to get it. There is. There's no one route to solving a problem or getting a goal accomplished. And what mind mapping does for me, at least, is to allow me to break through those boundaries or those ceilings that we set around our can'ts and our, oh, maybe I can't, or our negative ways of looking at a problem. Let's get out of that. Mind mapping challenges you to think about what's more than one way to do something. And the framework that I'll be sharing with you all will encourage that in a lot of different ways. And I'm excited to share that with you. So it encourages creative exploration. I want to note that you don't have to be an artist to mind map. That is a very big myth. If you can draw a circle, a triangle, or a square, you can draw just about anything. But I mostly mind map with fun expressions of lettering. I am a lettering artist, so I like to draw, words in really fun and exciting ways that reflect my expression. So that's my way of doing it. Your way could be drawing doodles, drawing shapes, whatever that is for you. But I'll show you an example of how I mind map, and I want to encourage you to think about what could be your style. And then lastly, mind mapping helps improve your memory and the retention of information, which Dr. Kim, you mentioned, like it does combine your modal and like mental skills. And so when you're thinking about something, you're like actively writing it down, you're actively retaining that information. So when you visualize your goals, it's going to be a way for you to have not only like an emotional connection to it, but a visual cue to go align with that particular goal. So let's get into the tools. What do you need for mind mapping? My most favorite thing about mind mapping is that all you need is a pen, paper, and your noggin. Like you don't have to go buy all these things. You don't have to you can literally pick up anything that's laying around your house. And I love the beauty of mind mapping is like it meets you where you are. So whether you're experiencing range of emotions or exciting emotions, it meets you where you are. You don't have to look a certain way, feel a certain way to pick it up and do it. And so There are two avenues to my map. One is the digital route. So I like to use my iPad, or if you have a tablet with a stylus that you can write on, that could be one way. And then my top three apps, if you got the iPad, I love the paper app. It's by WeTransfer. It's free on the App Store, but they also have a pay version, which I'll be showing on this demonstration. GoodNotes is also another great app. And then Freeform is actually a new native app to Mac. So if you have it, they have a ton of like different ways to mind map. I know another online version of a mind map tool is Milanote, which isn't noted here, but I just thought of it. And then Evernote is also another one. But if you're old school like me, I really love the tangibles. So the things that I can touch and feel and see. Dotted paper or unruled paper is my preference. But what Dr. Kim said is like when you set these goals, you want to be able to like see them every day. So my philosophy is the bigger the idea, the bigger your paper. So if you have like those 16 point, times 20 sticky notes that you can put on your wall, I highly recommend getting those. They also have like a mini version you can get on Amazon. So those are great because you can just put them up on your wall, see them every day. And then I also have like this uh peelable dry erase board that I put on my wall, which is really helpful too, in saving space. So those are some that aren't listed, but I'm just thinking of it as I'm going. Another thing is pen, pencil, colored markers, or pens. Or I said pens twice because clearly I love pens, or crayons. So anything you can write with, or what's around you. I prefer the non-bleed. So the Papermate Flare is my favorite. And then there's the other brands out there, but those are my preferences. And then lastly, sticky notes or highlighters. I think these are where you can get fun and creative with, let's say if you have another thought, and I can show you a different a technique to leverage the sticky notes as we go. So those are just some general basic things that you can use for mind mapping. And so now let's get to the fun part. So if you have a pen or paper, what we're gonna do is I'm not gonna have you all, we'll have time toward the end of this call to like actually sit and start your mind map. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna walk you through like basically how to draw the framework. So you'll have a completed map that I made, right? I didn't fill it in with any goals. I just kind of annotated with what to fill in on your own time. So I'm actually going to switch to my iPad and show you all in real time like what this looks like. So give me 1 second as I connect my Apple AirPlay. And while I do that, I want to get everybody active in the chat. So if y'all could tell me what your creative mood is today, that would be great. So it could be anxious, excited, overwhelmed, nervous, whatever that is for you, drop it in the chat. And Naisha, if you want to call them out, that would be great while I hook this up.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have someone shared hopeful. We have overwhelmed and anxious. A mag shared reserved. I was putting mine in progress because personally I'm not in the moment right now, but afterward, yes. Longing, tired and curious, overwhelmed, ready, excited to learn. Just discovered I have freeform. Good, good. Ready, grounded. I love this. Nervous but excited, longing. Thank you, everyone.
Those are great. And I've also noted some of those in the mind map. So you'll be in for a treat today.
Cheers. Someone also said
Can
creative mode, amped. Valencia is
yeah,
amped. I'm down for that.
I love that. Okay, can you all see anything?
Just, yes, there we go. Yep.
All right, we Cuckoo agrees. Okay, so it's a little chaotic, so don't feel a little bit overwhelmed, but if you have a sheet of paper, do it in landscape so that you have a lot of space to work with, because that's how I drew the framework. So again, this is the paper app. It's for iPad and it's free in the App Store. So the first step, y'all. And get this is again, we're just drawing the framework, so don't feel compelled to like have to like actually answer the questions. We're just gonna identify what goes in each section, and then you'll get a new piece of paper to write your own mind map in an allotted amount of time that makes sense for you. So the first step is I'm very much a creative, so I always have to brand my goals. So my goals, right? Like they got to have a name. I got to have a tone to it, a feel to it. And this also could sound like, really grandiose, right? Like you want to get excited about whatever it is that you're trying to tackle. While it may feel scary, you want to make sure that you have a connection to it. So if that means calling it something cute, branding it, having a little cute catchy title to it, definitely think about what that is. And so I'll just highlight it here. And so I just kind of illustrated it as my top 2024 goal. And it could be also goals, plural. And again, you want to title it and brand it as something. So you see my little friend, I wrote her, that's like my little alter ego. So again, having fun with it and getting super creative. I'm not the best drawer, but hey, this is what we got. So the first section is let's check in with yourself. And I guess I had all of you drop in like how you're feeling because one thing that we know about emotions, all of our decisions are rooted in how we feel. And so it's important to have like a clear state of mind and being in touch with the feelings, right? Like they don't always have to be a good or a bad feeling. It just is, right? And again, we're humans, so we always experience a range of emotions. So don't deem it as good or bad, just deem it as it just is. And so in this first bubble, I want you to just check in with yourself. So whatever you dropped in the chat, maybe if you're feeling stressed, overwhelmed, anxious, unsure, excited, like whatever that may be for you, draw it in this bubble. And another thing with mind mapping, like I try to make sure that all of the space is pretty much filled in. You want to make sure that you're using as much space as possible because you're challenging yourself to get it out, like brain dump as much as possible so that you're able to get it all out. That's the first step. And so this is the first little box. So if you want to do like a little cute thought bubble like I did, or draw, like a little face with an expression on it, definitely have fun with it. And again, I'm a lettering artist, so I like to do bubble letters and all that. So channel your inner fifth grader when you used to pass notes to your girlfriend. Channel her and get it all out. So that's the first bubble. And I think we should be good to go. So I also want to say, don't feel rushed. If you do want to have another, glance at this, I will give Naisha the deck so that you all have access to this to work on and refer to in your own time. So box three is important, right? Because again, like I said, emotions and the decisions that we make are rooted in the emotions, but with the mind mapping, we want to brain dump. And then as we go, we're going to narrow it down. So from this bubble we have right here, think about the one emotion that you feel like is the biggest in this moment. So let's say it's overwhelmed, right? Because it's a stressful time of the year. We got through 1 month of the year already, which is crazy. And so that may have you feeling like, no, February 1st is actually my January 1st, right? Whatever that is for you, right? Maybe it's overwhelmed. You're going to draw your biggest emotion, your biggest feeling in this next little box. So you'll transfer that here. I am mostly feeling X because Y. So this is the section where I want you to kind of give reason or like, those bullet points as to why you're feeling that way. And it could be a range of things, right? So I like to call them pain points. These are challenges and things that are kind of in your way, kind of in the way, kind of like, okay, they're like a little thorn in your hip, right? What are those pain points for you? And I want you to think about what your top three are. And you're going to use as much space as possible to fill in and explain why you may be feeling this way. So a sentence could sound like, I am feeling overwhelmed because I don't have support. And why don't you have support? Maybe because, I just moved to a new town and, I feel isolated and I can't find people that look like me. That's your explaining and giving explanation to whatever your pain point is. And also make sure that it connects back to your overall goal. Because again, mind mapping and one of the benefits of it is to start to like connect the dots between ideas and also kind of give reason to, those things that may be in your way as you're trying to establish whatever that goal is. So this is the explaining your emotions box. So this is where we kick in our problem solving skills. And I want to give context to what I'm talking about. So mind mapping is actually inspired by this process as designers we go through called design thinking. So design thinking, I would compare it mostly to what we all used to do in elementary school was the scientific method when we used to do science projects. The scientific method is like first you come up with a hypothesis, right? Or you identify a problem, you come up with a hypothesis, meaning like, hey, I think this is happening because, right? And it's a theory. It's rooted in your thought and, just general information that you have. In the scientific process, we actually identify what that problem is and try to solve it. So we do those experiments. So we have a test experiment A, a test experiment B. So mind mapping is doing the same thing, but we're just using our problem as, again, our test subject. So design thinking challenges you to convert some of these things and these observations that you're having into actual questions that you can find the answers to. So from your pain points, we're going to convert those pain point statements and convert them into questions, and they're going to be called how might we questions. So in every sentence, we're going to start the sentence off with how might I dot 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 or how might we dot dot dot. So I can give you an example. In the box before, I said an example could be, excuse me, a problem that I'm experiencing is I'm overwhelmed. Why am I overwhelmed? I am overwhelmed because I'm short of investment capital. That's a very specific reason of why I'm overwhelmed. Maybe it's because it doesn't allow me to run my business in the way that I want to. So I take that example and I want to convert it into a how might be statement. So then an example of how I'm converting, I'm short of investment capital into a question is how might I make $500 to invest in a new trademark by June 2024? And now you kind of see like, okay, I'm converting this pain point that I have and make it into a question that now I can discover the answer to. So that's all essentially what mind mapping is forcing you to think about your problems and then converting them into um, non-emotional questions that you can discover endless possibilities to. And going back to that whole like emotional phase of things, to be motivated to complete a goal, you have to feel good about it. You have to know that this is something tangible, smart, attainable, something that you can really like grasp and like feel that it's a possibility for you. And so that's the QT&A box, right? So the QT&A box, again, challenging you to write as many how might we questions or how might I questions as possible based on whatever you wrote in your pain point section. So again, the goal is as we complete this map is to take one from that previous box and then carry it on to the next box. So we're narrowing and highlighting down as we go. So a tip with this is, again, what Dr. Kim said, which again, lay beautifully, which is the SMART goals, because I thought about it, but I was like, what does it stand for again? But I wrote it down from your deck. So thank you, Dr. Kim. Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time sensitive. And to Dr. Kim's point, she put an asterisk by attainable and relevant because those are subjective. So my tip is, again, make your questions specific. And my whole thing is like making sure you always attach a number to a goal, whatever that goal is. What it could be a time limit, it could be a dollar amount, it could be the amount of people to support you, it could be the amount of, items that you want to acquire or get rid of. Whatever that number is for you, always attach it to your goal. So, feeling good? I hope so. Chime off in the chats. So now we're going to move on to the Wheel of Resources. I know y'all probably heard the Wheel of Fortune, but we got the Wheel of Resources. So the Wheel of Resources are a bit of essentially the things that you need in order to get that question answered. So from this previous box, you pick your top question that you want to carry over, and you're going to actually repeat that question to you of like, what resources do I need to solve for this question? So you're going to think about the solution, the resources that you have within your reach. Again, we're thinking attainable. What is within my reach? So I have 3 categories for that. The first category is human capital. So human resources. So those are the people in your life that, again, to Dr. Kim's point, I put that in there because I learned from your dad. Support and accountability. So who are the people within your network, digitally, your friends, whether it's, thought leaders or experts or, people who are physical people that you can pick up a phone and call. Who are those people? You're going to add them here that relate to or can potentially support you in figuring out the question to the answer to that question. And if it's not a direct person, think about, okay, I have a friend who knows a person. Could it be a second degree connection? So maybe think about who can connect you to someone who maybe have that answer to that question. The second is going to be digital resources. Holding space clearly is a digital a resource for all of us because of this free event. You have access now to people who are on this call that can potentially support you in your journey. So this is also a digital resource. Again, to Naisha's point, the Sister Circle Therapy for Black Girls is also a digital resource. So making sure that you're really assessing all of those things that are within your reach, whether they're through your social networks or through a simple Google search. Think about what all that is. And again, the point is to fill up as much space as possible in this wheel of resources so that you have options. We need options. The girls need options. And lastly, is tangible resources. So tangible resources are things you can touch. So think money. Sometimes we won't touch our money no more because we don't use cash anymore, but money, maybe it's a car, maybe it is a means of getting, from point A to point B. Maybe it's an actual physical mechanism that allows you to carry or store things, whatever that is for you. Think about what those tangible resources are, write as many as you can down. So eventually you'll have a wheel of resources that you can spin around and pick and pull as you choose. So now I'm going to switch my color up because I love color. Is the ideation box. This is my favorite. The ideation, excuse me, let me get a glass of water. Okay. Ideation box is the most fun box for me because now that you have all of these things to help you answer your question, now you can write down as many ideas as possible. The challenge with this one is, again, mind mapping. I like to set the scene and the tone for mind mapping. So I'm a very Saturday morning or a Sunday morning kind of girl where I have my candle, I got my notebook, maybe I got some like music in the back, I've done a prayer, whatever that is for you, set the tone and set the mood of a space. It could be with friends, it could be a group of friends. And so this is where the ideation box really makes your mind map activate. So this is where I would challenge you to do like a rapid fire ideation session. And that's where we'll have the sticky notes. So the sticky notes can come in. You set your timer on your iPhone or your phone for about 5 minutes. You want to write down as many ideas on those sticky notes as possible. So each sticky note has an idea. You're going to put it up on the wall. Your 5 minutes. Don't stop. You can't slow down. You just got to write down as many ideas as you can. And what you'll realize is that, wow, you have not just one solution, but many solutions to tackle that question you just asked yourself. And another challenge is that you want to pull and make sure you're using all of the digital, human, and tangible resources and figuring out your ideas. So this is one of the boxes that I like the most because it now breaks us into this, realm of possibility with making our goals a lot more tangible. And it also, we like as humans, and this is what Dr. Kim said, also make your goals simple. You want to make sure that we are picking the simplest, easiest route to accomplish our goals that don't stress us out, that don't overwhelm us, that allows us to feel excited about it, and again, keeping it attainable. So you're going to pick your best idea out of that ideation box, and you may want to run it past your friends or run it past your people in your human capital and get their opinion on it, to then solidify, okay, this is the thing that is going to get me to answer my question that has been burning in my soul. So then the last part, which I'll do pink, is again going back to that SMART goal. Now that you've discovered your possibilities, you've, figured out your resources, you know what you need, you have that burning question that you need to answer, and you already checked in your emotions. By the time that you get to the end of this map, you probably feel totally different from how you started. And don't take it from me. You got to do it yourself to really see this in action. But when you really take the time to like break this down, then you can become more confident in understanding how to approach your goal, not just making it this like far off thing in the future that you need to have all these things to do. No, you're actually turning your idea into action. And I would challenge you to think about it through a 3, 6, or 12-month time frame. Again, always attaching a number to whatever your goal is the key. And so then the last part is you found yourself back at the top of your emotions. I like to repeat this part of the map because, again, you may feel a little different about how you started. And I want you to also like reflect in this moment. So think about now that your map is somewhat complete, take another paper or a journal entry to like really check in with how you feel. Jot it down. Do you feel like, oh, now I have an accountability? What did you discover in this process? Really reflect and check in with yourself to see like, how does this influence how I'm going to now attack my goal? And also set my goal. You may see that your goal that you originally started with has completely changed and you have another idea. The point of mind mapping is to really get you out of that fatigue of like ruminating on this thought and this, vision of what you want to accomplish. You may discover that you had a new goal altogether. And so the best part of mind mapping is that, again, it meets you where you are, and all you need is a pen and paper and your ideas to get it started. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Again, I will add this into the deck so that you all have this as a reference as you change it. A few tips, it doesn't have to look like mine. The beauty of creativity is it's going to look so different for everyone. So if you find that, maybe the way that I, drew my boxes didn't work for you. Maybe you're a more linear person. Maybe you like ruled paper. Maybe you like lists, whether better than wheels or boxes. Whatever that is for you, the framework still stands. You can create it however you see fit, but I like it a little chaotic for the plot. So that is the my map in totality, but I have one more slide that I want to share with you to actually actualize some of the boxes. So in the chat, if you have a question or something that comes up, we can talk about it in the last 15 minutes to kind of think about what that could look like for you. So this is, again, y'all, I'm a designer. So I take my mind maps and the next step is for me to make it look pretty through a graph of sorts, right? So a couple years ago when I was doing my like business planning, I had to also do it for the people that I worked with. And I learned mostly how to run my business and set plans and attack goals with myself first. And then I would create them as, roadmaps to like guide other people. So this is an example of how I've created a quarterly goal. So quarter, obviously 3 months in a year. I think that is a solid amount of time to really attack a goal. It doesn't feel time sensitive. I mean, obviously you want a little bit of urgency in what it is that you want to do. But I found that breaking it down into these 3 sections really gives you, a solid 30 days to focus just on one thing instead of always having to skip ahead. Again, referencing Dr. Kim's point, which is one step at a time, that is my screensaver, y'all. We be trying to jump, skip, double dutch our way into the next issue when all you really have to do is put one step and one foot in front of the other and take one step at a time. So this is my one step at a time. And you can also draw this out. It doesn't have to look like this. Or if you're like, the freeform girly, hey, draw it on freeform. They got boxes and shapes and all that stuff, or Canva. So the first one is, again, brainstorming strategy. So the first 30 days you're going to use to just really explore that idea box. So that idea box that we drew out, explore some of those other ideas that you came about. What does it look like if you built a strategy behind one of the ideas or two of the ideas? Think about the steps in totality of how you would tackle this, but also give yourself to inspire yourself. Like, I call it R&D, research and development, which is also me going on Pinterest and making Pinterest boards to inspire myself. Make that time sacred for you. Like, make it a part of your process, make it a part of your goal setting, because again, you're putting visual cues into this thing that it's just in your head. You want to make sure that it's tangible. Give yourself 30 days to do that. Maybe you want to break it up into 15-minute boxes. So that's why you see the two like grayed out boxes within this larger box. Those are 15-day sprints. If you want the first 15 days to brainstorm a little bit more, then you want the latter 15 days to just strategize a little bit more, do that. But break it down and make it chunkable and snackable. Section 2, which is, let's say we're in April, right? You want to use this time to prototype and test. So prototype is essentially making a beta version of whatever your real version is. So it's something that is low cost, it's quick to make, or it's like maybe simply just asking people their thoughts and opinions on it, trusted individuals, obviously, or maybe for you to kind of test out what that new car is going to feel like before you buy it, right? You want to make sure that you do your research and also just test the waters without having to invest a ton of money or a ton of time or a ton of energy into developing said thing. And that could look a little different based on your goals. The second, again, we can break it down into two 15-day sprints. So in this case, the first was like, okay, use 15 days to prototype and then use 15 days to test. Test means share with people, have your community chime in, maybe show your friends, get feedback, whatever that is for you. The third is like using that third month, again, two 15-day sprints to iterate and refine. So the iterate part is like, okay, maybe you've gotten feedback from your friend, like, oh girl, I don't like that color. Or maybe you drove that car and you were like, okay, yeah, I thought I liked it, but like the wheels and the price, they're not adding up based on where I live. Whatever that is for you, iterate based on your research findings in your prototype and testing phase, because it'll really allow you to make informed decisions on, are you in the right direction of meeting your goal, or do you have to change some things? And if you have to change some things, it's okay to course correct as you go. And so that's where that refinement comes in. Imagine like you're sharpening or like polishing a diamond. That is what we're doing here. The third phase is like, you want to make sure that whatever goal that you're ready to celebrate is to a place where you love it. You love it. You want to share it. You want to show it off. You want to feel proud about it. Like, I'm such a perfectionist in that sense, where it's like, I need it to be perfect before I show everybody. And that just makes everybody happy. We just all love it. So use that last phase to take the time to iterate and refine. And again, give yourself time to do this. It doesn't have to be perfect. You find that you may have to like rework it or extend your prototype and test phase. In any case, that is okay. You can always go back and refine as you go. But again, that 30-day window is more than enough time for you to break it down and chip at it as you go. So lastly is your quarterly goal, whatever that is for you. You want to check in with yourself, like Dr. Kim said at the end, and kind of like reflect on it, celebrate it, share it with people, and make sure that it's something that you feel proud of. And if your goal isn't what it originally was, that's okay. You can always course correct and change as you go. And that's your milestone. So your milestone could be, a 3-month. This could also be double the time. It could be 6 months, or it could be up to a year. Whatever that is for you, just make it feel like it's something that you can attain. And then lastly, you want to, document what you learned, and like also the things that you wouldn't do again, right? Because again, life is all about lessons, y'all. Like, we're here figuring it out. Like, all of us are figuring it out. This is me figuring life out, figuring business out, there's no one person that has all the answers, because if we did, we wouldn't be here. So we're all here to share and hold space for each other to figure these things out, and also hold space for yourself in those moments. So whether that's joining a sister circle event or checking in with someone that you met here, or following up with Dr. Kim or I to ask a little bit more information, or Naisha, whatever that is for you, share your learnings, ask questions, be curious. That is where you grow, and that is how you learn more. So happy mind mapping. I'm so excited to have done this with you all. And I'll leave, I guess, the last 15 minutes for questions, or Naisha.
Karen, thank you so much. First of all, I'm so excited that you granted us access to your deck, because I'm like, this is a lot. I know I need to go back so I can be more intentional about it. And I'm looking forward to sharing the deck with everyone so they can do that as well. Karen, I have a question for you. Like, where did mind mapping come from? Well, we know you didn't invent it, but like, were you frustrated, or did you just need a way to just get everything out on paper? Where did it come from you?
Thank you for that question. So it all started because I was known in elementary school to like write notes. I mean, the girls did it, right? Like we all wrote notes to our best friends during passing periods and stuff like that. But I will always write like Black girl affirmations. I would do all these things on my little notes, and then I'll pass it to my friends, and they loved them. So it started there, but then as I grew and evolved, like it just became like, oh, let me write a note to myself and figure out how to like make my next paycheck for the month, right? Like, so then I like attached tangible things that I was dealing with in everyday life, but making it still feel like I'm writing a note to myself that's encouraging, that's like, okay, like I'm still, frustrated in this moment, but I'm making it fun by making it art. And that's like where the artist comes in, but it didn't become a thing until 2020, when again, we were in our houses. I realized all my friends didn't feel really creative. I worked in the creative industry. So like there were certain businesses that were booming during the pandemic. And I was like, okay, very overwhelmed, had a lot of ideas, always heard ideas every day. Then I had my friends like, y'all, I don't know what I'm doing. I just need help. So I started to do these one-on-one sessions where I would just coach people through like, okay, let's go from idling because people felt stuck to giving you a possibility. And through mind mapping and that bouncing of ideas to each other, people walked away with maps. And I eventually ran into a woman who had a 2020 session with me and was like, I started my practice because of this session. And I'm like, oh, that's crazy. I actually met her at the Houston stop for Dr. Joy's book tour. She recognized me. I didn't even recognize her, y'all. It was crazy. So it was a beautiful full circle moment, but it's just creating the time and the space to just think can be so powerful. And I think oftentimes we underestimate it. So that's how it started. And this is how it's going. I get to do it in groups. It's fun.
And this is a lovely, lovely. I definitely appreciate it. So let me ask you, how do you see yourself taking mind mapping to another level? You do it one-on-one, you do it in groups. We speaking of mind mapping conference in the future?
Oh, I never thought about that. I mean, it could be. I think the beauty of it is that it doesn't have to be a large group to be effective, or you don't have to have a ton of people involved to get it. I think that it's such an intimate process that like it only really truly works when it's like a few people involved, especially when we're dealing with ideas and like feelings. Those things can't be shared with a lot of people. It has to be like in a trusted space. So I personally want to share the gospel of mind mapping because it is something that you can just pick up. You don't have to have an accreditation or, a degree in mind mapping to do it. Like it is accessible. And it is a very tangible way to think, rethink, and reimagine like what it is that you want to accomplish.
Mm. Thank you for that. Does anyone have any questions for Karen before she heads out? And we will be having some time. I have some music. I hope you all like this music. I think you will. To mind map. It's some good lo-fi. Does anyone have any questions?
I'm just
Hi, Mag here. I have a question. Thank you for the workshop. So, one, how often do you revisit the mind map? And then two, can you do a revision like halfway through the year or quarterly?
Ooh, great question. So revisiting. Back to what Dr. Kim said, you want to make sure that you see your goals. I've had
Mhm.
people who framed literally framed their mind map to have it on their wall because they see visually what it is that they want to do, right? Like every mind map has like a different end goal from what I've seen. So, but people tend to like love to look at it because they like the process of getting to that end result. So if you want to frame it and revisit it, I mean, people can see it every day if you have it up on your wall. But if it's like, let's say in a notebook, you close your notebook, you may put it in your backpack, or you fill up your notebook and you never revisit it. It's really up to you to understand like how you're keeping yourself accountable with the goals that you set. So for me, I don't necessarily revisit the mind map because again, that's like the process, right? Like that's the process, very in the moment, very like, okay, this is today how I feel. What's important is like, okay, solidifying that result of the mind map and transferring it into something a lot more polished, which is why I showed you like the second, chart, because it kind of solidifies and makes it like, okay, now I have an action plan behind what I figured out, what I want my question to solve it, to solve. So using that like framework on the second diagram that I showed you would be the one that I would have most visible to your day-to-day life. And it depends on how long you set your goals for. So it could be 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months. If it's 3 months, you're going to check in with that every 15 days. So in the first 15 days, did you set your goal? Yes or no? Second 15 days, that's your 30-day window. So if you want to insert a mile marker to be like, hey, at my 30-day, maybe I'll go revisit the original mind map, you could do that. And to your point about revising your mind map, it could look like, okay, maybe I've set a 6-month goal. Maybe you want to chop that in half. Maybe at the 30-day mark, at the 3-month mark, you want to check in and say, hey, am I halfway there? Do I feel like I have to redo a couple steps? Whatever that is for you, I think depending on what it is that you set, you would feel in your gut if like, are you on the right track versus if you aren't on the right track. If you still are unclear, I think that's where what Naisha and Dr. Kim said is like accountability. Like, are you a part of affinity groups that maybe you trust? Or maybe, you pull up to a social hour or an idea potluck in your city. Those are great, by the way. I know they have some in Chicago, but I would encourage you all to look up idea potlucks because they bring together random people, different industries and backgrounds to just ask questions and like give things. So find an idea potluck in your city, or low key, Sister Circle could do an idea potluck. That could be really fun. So yeah, feel free to ask questions for like people in your community if you feel like you're on the right track. And if you're not, always find the course correct. But again, this is meant to be a process, and again, a fun process. Mind mapping makes it fun for me to attack a problem or find a solution to something that I want to accomplish.
Thank you for that. So real quick, there's a plug. So every city has different things, but there's something that is actually, I think it's global. It's called Creative Mornings, and I go here in Atlanta, but literally I can be anywhere, literally in the world. And a lot of places have one. So they have them in New York, Chicago, DC, and other cities have them too. So just like look that up, and then they have free resources online as well. But it's a great community, and you can just like ask. It's full of creatives in whatever way you happen to be creative.
Love it. I've gone to one before and I'm very, very familiar with them in Chicago.
Mhm,
So thank you for
mhm.
sharing that.
Sure.
Thank you, Mag. I definitely got the link. I also added it to the resource. I am going to share ways to stay connected with Karen, as well as ways to stay connected with Dr. Kim. If anyone, signed up, obviously you're all here, so you'll get that in the playback as well. And do we have any more questions? All right.
I have a question, just a very quick comment. I thoroughly enjoyed this, so thank you, Karen. I was attracted to this webinar because I actually started design and architecture school, get my master's like last year. So I had a design class, and that was the first time I learned about mind mapping. So that's why those words stuck out to me. And in that class, that was part of the design process. So exactly kind of how you explained it, that's how it was. And I remember going through that thinking like, this could be used for more than just like the design process. It could be used for like my personal life and goals and stuff like that. So this was just very refreshing to listen to and hear and actually see someone else do it. So just thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And congratulations on starting in that process. I know it could be really intimidating, but like, again, design thinking and that framework that they're going to have you apply to literally everything that you learn is going to be so like rewarding and expedite like your learning process. So I'm glad you found this really useful.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, yes. And Dr. Kim, yes, you make your mind map. I love it.
All right, so I'm actually going to end the recording now. To everyone who's watching the replay, we will have the deck included as well. So just click that link in the newsletter. You'll have that deck so you can mind map on your own.